वीडियो रिकॉर्ड कर रहे हैं क्या कर रहे हो?
Another level. I be on another level, 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 level. I be on another 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 level, 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 level. I be on another level.
one of the largest mobile payment and commerce platforms, Paytm, facilitated 7 million transactions worth millions of dollars on Saturday. Now, the spike in the cashless payment system is benefiting from the Indian government's decision to withdraw 500 and 1,000 rupee currency notes.
Suddenly there's a huge dearth of currency notes in India, and this is an economy which is completely dependent on cash, and when 85% of the economy is running on 500 and 1,000 rupee notes, which suddenly go missing from the economy, there has to be an alternate payment system, and that alternate payment system has emerged as digital wallets or payment gateways like Paytm.
Where do you see the cashless society of India, which is so much based, as you just pointed out, on small denominations, ordinary traders, ordinary people, frankly, money in a sock under the bed, in most cases.
Right.
Where do you see the growth potential?
Almost everyone in India has a reservoir of cash in the home that they're now trying to exchange for new currency. But what the government's trying to do is to force everyone into the banking system at even an elementary or entry level and to force digital transactions. And there's a lot of reasons for it. Stopping black money is one, as you mentioned, but stopping counterfeit is another. I've seen estimates of 5 to 8% of all the notes in circulation in India are actually counterfeit.
So
that's a huge problem.
So the volume of transactions that you are now seeing as a result of this this policy, this change, how would you characterize it?
It's growing exponentially. We're seeing transactions across the board at all digital payments companies moving forward. I was in India for the policy change. The next day, you couldn't buy a cup of coffee with cash if it was a 500 or 1,000. You had to use a digital payment method. People who didn't have them yesterday are getting them today. Smartphone sales are growing because they enable digital payments more easily.
But there is one bright spot in the global economy, and that is India. India is now the world's fastest growing major economy and has outpaced China. Now, if we look at India's GDP figures, India is currently growing at an annual rate at around 7.5% per annum. And according to both the World Bank and the IMF, the country is expected to maintain that 7.5% growth for the next 2 years.
India and South Asia will be a very highly populated part of the world. So if you think that at some point as all countries develop, the sheer numbers of population are what drive economic power, economic might, then for sure China and India will be the two biggest economic powers we will have. Compared to them in terms of population, the EU or the United States will be half or less than half. In 10 or 20 years, if you use plausible growth rates, what we expect, or rather what we hope, is that India and South Asia will be the next East Asia. Over the last 20, 30 years, the big transformation of the world was in East Asia.
The global effort to fight climate change is becoming more urgent. And while countries are taking steps to address emissions concerns, India is actually the first country with a completely environmentally friendly airport.
Cochin International Airport has now become the world's only airport run entirely on solar power. On this land, more than 46,000 solar panels are meeting the demand of the airport. The 12-megawatt plant generates more than 50,000 units of electricity every day. The entire project was set up in 6 months and cost $10 million. The airport will recover all the money invested in just 5 years.